So this is our first mini lecture for brain and behavior. You're going to be learning all about the brain this semester. The brain is a physical object. It has living tissue. So most people don't think of the brain as one of their bodily organs, but it is by far one of their most important. You can have a heart transplant, but you cannot have a brain transplant. Behavior is an action. This is observable, but it is fleeting. So when we're looking at brain and behavior, we're going to be studying the relationship between the brain and a behavior that is observable but temporary. Brain and behavior, they differ greatly, but they are linked. They evolve together. And so one of the things that we're going to be looking at great depth in, or at some depth in this course, is the relationship between the brain and behavior and how they evolve together and how one is responsible for the other. So to give you an example, this following is not that far-fetched. So that was a really fun example of the relationship between the brain and behavior. And one of the reasons I chose that clip is that it has a really nice illustration of really drawing out the external behavior and the internal brain activity. And that most of the things that we do, we don't think that our actions are really determined by what's going on in our brain. So when we watch that, we can really see like, oh, they're trying to think specific things or think in a specific way, and it's going to result in the helicopter flying. So that really fun example illustrates why we should study brain and behavior, and that we really want to understand the origins of our behavior and really understand the origins of behaviors that are really beneficial in terms of trying to fly a helicopter, or things that can be really problematic. So most behavioral disorders can be explained and possibly cured by understanding the brain. We now have a much greater understanding of how to treat depression, eating disorders, a range of problems by looking at what's going on in the brain. The brain is also one of the most complex living organs on Earth. So when we think of the organs in our body, we think of our heart and our lungs. We don't really think that the brain is an organ similar to our heart or our lung, but it is. And it is, as the most complex, it's something that we should devote time to, and it is also one of the most essential. We can graft skin, we can have a heart transplant, but we cannot have a brain transplant. And as much as that happens in the movies, there is nothing even really remotely close to having any sort of brain transplant in the near future. So how the brain produces both behavior and consciousness, how the brain produces behavior is really important for understanding consciousness and some of the major unanswered scientific questions of the day. So we're going to start to delve into that in this course. And to do so, we're going to cover some of the basics of the human brain anatomy, and we're also going to look into the nervous system and how it communicates. So return here. This is a picture of the brain, and this is your frontal lobes right here, your right hemisphere, your left hemisphere, and this area right here corresponds to this area right here that you're looking at from the front. So this is what you would see if someone else were looking at you. Here's your temporal lobes, here's your cerebellum. Your temporal lobes come right through here on the sort of side view. Okay, here's your cerebellum, here's your brain stem. This is all your vital functions. This area is right here. And the brain and the spinal cord together make up the central nervous system, the brain and the spinal cord. So the brain is going to pass on all sorts of information to your body. The most of it is comprised of your peripheral nervous system. This has sensory connections so any incoming sensory information is going to go from your peripheral nervous system, and then through your peripheral nervous system it will connect to your central nervous system. You have motor connections to use your body's muscles, and your peripheral nervous system also connects the brain with your internal organs.